nice day. I am Bindu. I hope you all are doing well. Let's start with another new topic: post-war world and India. In this, we will see what happened after World War II and what were the conditions in India as soon as it became independent. What are the solutions for this and what did India do to overcome these hurdles? Let's see what happened after World War II. Learning outcomes. Aftermath of the World War II. United Nations Organization, UNO. The two camps and the Cold War, 1945 to 1991. Non-alignment movement, NAM. West Asian conflicts. The growth of nationalism in the Middle East. Peace movements. Collapse of the USSR. And the end of the Cold War. India and its neighbors. Keywords: military alliance, a formal agreement between nations. Proxy war, an armed conflict between two states. Panchsheel. It contains a set of principles to govern relations between states. Democratic capitalism. A system that allocates resources based on productivity and social needs through democratic decision making. Concept map. Aftermath of the World War II. Different impacts on different countries. European countries most affected. Significant loss of population. USSR, Poland and Yugoslavia. The Great Depression in the USA was resolved with the assistance of the war. Industries and agriculture flourished, resulting in complete employment and increased productivity. In 1945, US President Harry Truman proclaimed "Show the USA as the world's most dominant nation." The United Nations was established to advance global peace and progress, resulting in the cessation, ending of colonialism by nations such as Britain and France. The US with greater political and economic influence, urged these nations to relinquish, give up their monopolies, trust on colonies. The USSR supported anti-colonial movements. Inspiring communist parties across the globe. Britain granted freedom to its old colonies. The former colonies of Britain were granted independence. These countries were then faced with the choice of capitalism or communism. Influenced by the USA and USSR. They also had the chance to negotiate by using one power against another. United Nations Organization, UNO. The UN Charter was established after World War II to create the United Nations. Goals of the UN include promoting peace, preventing wars, and ensuring global human rights, democracy, and the elimination of poverty and hunger. The UN respects the independence of nations and intervenes in cases of severe human rights abuses or threats to global peace. UN Secretary General chosen by all nations, rotated among continents. General Assembly discusses. Security Council decides on war and peace. Security Council has 5 permanent members: China, France, UK, Russia, USA. The two camps and the Cold War, 1945 to 1991. Two major ideological and political camps emerged after the war: the Communist bloc led by the USSR and the Democratic Capitalist bloc led by the USA. The USSR promoted equality and state-controlled development, while the USA advocated for multi-party democracy and private capitalist-controlled development. The Cold War lasted for over 45 years and was fought covertly, secretively, through propaganda, publicity, and words, without physical attacks or direct fighting. Proxy war. US involvement in anti-communist efforts in Turkey, Greece, and Latin America. Angola's independence and communist takeover with support from USSR and Cuba. USSR's attempts to expand influence in Germany, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, and later unsuccessful attempts to pressure China. Military alliances. The USA and USSR had nuclear weapons and knew that a nuclear war would be pointless. They formed military and strategic alliances. USA created NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Communist nations formed the Warsaw Pact. USA also had regional alliances like C2, Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, and CENTO, the Central Treaty Organization. Arms and space race. USSR and USA invested heavily in nuclear weapons and missiles. Britain, France, and China also joined in the competition extended to space with satellites for spying and missile guidance. Flashpoints. Rival powers had destructive weapons, constantly threatening the world with a nuclear holocaust. People in all countries lived in constant fear of war. Moments of imminent, near nuclear war were diffused through diplomacy, such as incidents involving the U-2 US spy plane, Soviet missile buildup in Cuba, and conflicts in Korea and the Middle East. Non-alignment movement, NAM. The world in the 1950s was becoming more militarized and divided into two opposing camps. The establishment of a bipolar world was a result of rivalries, competition between superpowers for military and economic supremacy. The non-aligned movement, NAM, was created in 1955 to address the concerns of newly independent nations and promote cooperation among them. West Asian conflicts. West Asia is also known as the Middle East and is a location of the West Asian crisis emergency. The conflict between Arabs and Jews in Palestine was due to the Zionist movement's desire to reclaim it as their homeland. The discovery of oil reserves in the Middle East made of region a point of contention between the US and the USSR. The growth of nationalism in the Middle East. US support for Israel and the situation of Palestinians. US support for undemocratic regimes system in the region for oil resources. Opposition to the US and US-backed regimes taking religious colors. Peace movements. Collapse of the USSR and the end of the Cold War. The USSR and the USA faced public pressure to reduce the arms race and destroy their nuclear arsenal weapons. Mikhail Gorbachev's leadership in the USSR allowed for political transformation and reforms. Eastern European countries experienced economic crisis, leading to popular movements for freedom and democracy. India and its neighbors. India's foreign policy was based on the principles of peace and non-violence. Jawaharlal Nehru formulated the Panchsheel principles to emphasize India's commitment to peace. The Panchsheel principles determined India's relations with its neighbors. India's relationship with China. China became a communist republic in 1949 after a violent revolution. India recognized China's communist government and supported their permanent seat in the UN Security Council. China annexed, takeover Tibet in 1950, causing conflict with India and leading to a border dispute that remains unresolved today. India's relation with Pakistan. India and Pakistan gained independence from British India. The conflicts between India and Pakistan have continued since partition. The main issue between the two countries is Kashmir. India's relation with Bangladesh. Bangladesh became independent from Pakistan in 1971 with help of Indian troops. Soon after independence, Bangladesh signed a 25-year peace agreement with India. Despite disagreements on topics like river water, sharing, and illegal migration, both nations have worked together on economic and disaster management initiatives. Originality. India's relation with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island country in the Indian Ocean, south of India. Sri Lanka gained independence in 1948. India and Sri Lanka have cultural, ethnic, and economic ties.